Invent my vote, to do something as big as that to reconciliation, not give the American people a chance to have their representatives really vote and debate and improve or amend it. And the fact that they almost turned themselves into pretzels to pass it is evident as to what's happening today. The people sent a message in November. They're still angry now. They're trying to repeal it and or repeal pieces of it. So it's clear that it's broken. And what do? We either repeal it or replace it or fix it or do something. We can't just keep it as is.
Were you surprised election night to get a phone call on your cell phone from Vice President Biden?
Yes, I was. I got a lot of calls that night, but that was I still have it on my cell phone, actually. That's one that I won't ever erase.
Is there a way we could sort of tell the sanitized version of why he called you a wise guy at the White House about a month after you were sworn in and became a senator?
Well, it was after the health care bill where he said on the air, "Mr. President, this is a blank big deal," and everyone remembers that. Well, the next day, I actually had a lunch with him, and we're walking around, and he's showing me this and showing me that, and we spent a lot of time. I said, "Mr. Vice President," he says, "call me Joe." I said, "Joe, this is a blank big deal," and he laughed. He said, "You're a wise guy, aren't you?" I said, "Yes, I am." He says, "Well, we're going to get along just fine." And as a result of that, we obviously have a cordial relationship, and we agree to agree sometimes, and we disagree respectfully.
It's interesting that sort of the behind-the-scene politics. People think that it's all war in this, and largely it is in this city. There's a lot of war. But the night you won, you made a phone call to Senator Ted Kennedy. You took that seat. I know there's a big dispute whether it's his seat or the people's seat or whatever we want to call it. But you made a call to Vicki Kennedy. She
was the first one I called. Her and her family were always very gracious. To me, I knew the senator, obviously being a state senator, worked with him on various issues affecting my then 12 communities. And one thing I appreciated about him was his sense of humor and his dedication to public service. We didn't agree on a heck of a lot, but I have great admiration for his service to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
What do you tell your family? Because now that you're in the limelight, you bring a lot on your family. And there's even a reference in the book about how after you went to the White House Correspondents' Dinner, someone took a slap at your wife's dress. I mean, it's actually much harder to have something happen to a family member than to yourself. Yeah. But what do you say to your two children, your wife? I mean, they get beaten up a little bit.
Yeah, well, they're kind of used to it now. Ayla was an American Idol. Gail's in the media business. Ariana is the one that I kind of worry about because she's really not in the public eye. And I'm like any other parent or father. When someone takes swipes at your kids or your family, you kind of get your hair up a little bit. But if it comes to me, I'm a public figure. Swipe away, bring it on.
If you're at some point you're going to walk away from the United States Senate, whether it's at the end of this term or 6 years, 18 to whatever it is, at some point when you walk away, what do you want to walk away having accomplished? What's this is what would make you feel the best walking away?
Well, the fact that I contributed to moving our country forward, to tackling the very real fiscal and financial problems that we're facing right now, because we're in deep trouble. And if I can do anything to get our country moving again and on a fiscal footing that we need to have to compete globally, if I've contributed to that, to getting them to talk and focus on the very real issues affecting our country, then I'll be a happy man.
Okay. Is the job fun or not?
Yeah, 80% of the time it's fun, but it's a lot of work, and I've had some very solid colleagues there. And when people say, they don't talk, they don't do this, listen, in the Senate at least, I don't know what the House is like, we have a very cordial and respectful relationship. Even though the leaders kind of battle publicly, they actually talk regularly, as we all do, to try to find common ground, to attack the things that we need to attack. And we'll respectfully disagree when we don't agree. But my hope is that we have opportunities now coming up with not only the CR, but the debt ceiling and a whole host of other things. We have opportunities to tackle issues and send a very powerful message to the rest of the world that the United States is ready for business. We're serious about getting our debt and deficit in order, and we want your business. Come on back.
If you could model yourself after a Republican senator and a Democratic senator currently, who are sort of the two model ones?
Well, Senator Thune and I are very close, and obviously Senator McCain and, excuse me, a whole host of other senators. And I respect, Senator Carper and Casey and Warner, and pretty much anybody there who wants to focus on real issues, I have a lot of respect for.
Next up on the record, we take you live to Libya, where tonight the country's leader, Muammar Gaddafi, is threatening his own people. As if the current bloodbath wasn't bad enough. Wait until you hear what he's now saying. You go to Libya next.
For 3 hours a week, I'm a coach. But when I was diagnosed with prostate cancer, I needed a coach. Our doctor was great, but with so many tough decisions, I felt lost. United Healthcare offered a specially trained